Good morning, and thank you very much for having me. I'm Michael Satin. I'm with the Office of Clean Energy and Environment at the U.S. Agency for International Development here at the American Embassy in Delhi. I'm excited to be here this morning, and I want to start off very quickly and very protocolishly by thanking my colleagues on the dais with me. Secretary Kumar, a long friend and colleague and a respected thought leader, as you heard this morning, is always a pleasure to share the dais with him from MNRE. I also want to take a moment and thank the chairperson of the CEA, Mr. Mahaski. I want to thank my colleague, the head of the economics department at the German embassy. You just heard from Jörg Polster. It's a pleasure to meet today for the first time Mr. R.K. Chugh, the president of the IEEMA. I'm very happy to also share today's festivities with Mr. Anil Sabu, the Elect Rama chairman, the WUS 2020 chair, Mr. Vikram Gandotra, and the co-chair of WUS 2020, Dr. Kanan Tiniam, who I'm sitting next to this morning. I do also want to take a moment and thank the Joint Secretary Narayan at the Ministry of Power, with whom I am quickly developing a collegial and friendship that is turning out to be quite a great experience for me, because it's always nice to have opportunity to develop professional relationships and have them develop into friendships where we share common passion and common interest on the issues that are so important to us and the future of our planet. Thank you very much, Mr. Joint Secretary. Let me start off really quickly by sort of talking a little bit about India. I'm going to make this kind of quick. I'll only speak for about an hour and 45 minutes. It is the case that we all know, if you're not working on the issues of renewable energy and on modernization of the grid and on a look forward into the future and how what we do today impacts that future in the space of energy and the delivery of electricity and its sister components, if you're not looking at that in India, you've effectively decided to not look at it anywhere. There is no doubt that what is happening in India in terms of the transformation of the energy space is setting the trend for the entire planet. Yes, there are other places. My most respect to our friends around the world, in the United States certainly, in Germany, in Japan, in other European capitals, in other places on the planet where energy has become a priority and people are making leaps and bounds advancements in a variety of ways. But here in India, I think we see that there has been a political commitment to renewable energy, certainly, and a transformation of the energy space that is unique, singular, and now I think cutting edge and leading in the world today. Be the first to admit, some of it is a product of necessity. But nonetheless, it is understood here that for a prosperous future, to lift millions up out of poverty, and to look at the overall economic security of a country the size of India, it's based fundamentally on democratic principles. If it's not happening here in India, it is effectively not happening. And we are very excited to be a part of that partnership with the government of India, specifically our friends at the Ministry of Power and the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, on this quest forward into an area that is somewhat uncharted and yet is being addressed with some of the best conceptual minds in the world. Let me start off by congratulating our friends at the Indian Electrical and Electronics Manufacturers Association and the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. They're the organizations, of course, that have brought us this fabulous World Utility Summit 2020. And while this is my very first year here, and I'm sorry to say I haven't been able to make it here previously, I'm excited to be here this year. And I'm told by my colleagues that the summit has established itself, and I don't need to actually be told by anybody anymore because I can see it for myself. The packed room speaks to this, that this has established itself as one of the pioneering thought leadership forums for the power utility industry, certainly here in India, and I would add globally. Today's packed hall does tell us a couple things. The power sector stakeholders from around the globe tell us a story about the disruptive trends that are transforming the way we live, the way we work, and the way we connect with each other. A story about the rapidly evolving electricity market, which is changing the way we produce, distribute, and use electricity. The role of the grid today, interestingly enough, and not a surprise to any of us, is really expanded into something we could not have conceptualized just a generation ago. I try to put myself back in those days when the first wires were strung across somebody's small power generation unit to the first commercial unit that needed electricity to build its industry. When we were doing this through simple cables across streets, to what we have today globally. The distribution business today is something that those people in the beginning could have never in their wildest dreams imagined. But it is no longer limited to supplying electricity either. The changes in the technological environment in generation led by renewable energy, electric vehicles, energy storage, and advanced controls require the grid to reinvent itself as a medium of bidirectional, and my guess is multi-directional flow of both electricity in communication, in digital, in the data advances, in the hyper-photogenic, in a variety of areas that we could have never, ever imagined just a short while ago in the history of our world. In addition, there's growing consumer awareness, which is pushing, of course, utilities to raise the bar on customer-centric services such as data analytics, energy management, solutions, and flexible payment options. What's really happened is that the distribution of electricity is no longer a one-way deal. It's no longer companies that are generating and taking that generated electricity and distributing it out to final users, and the final users then have to make simple choices about when they turn the switch on and when they turn it off. Really no choice at all, because in fact the switch needs to be turned on all the time. But guess what? Today the consumer, the end of the line, the people, the industries, the communities can make choices about when they're going to use and how they're going to use energy that's in their own best interest. It is truly the evolution of the free market, the invisible hand, as Adam Smith said, the ability to engage with others in your community in the marketplace and make choices about the fundamental inputs to your own survival. The fundamental inputs including energy, how you get it, where you get it from, how you use it, when you use it, why you use it, and best of all, what it gets you when you use it. It gets you better security, it gets you better energy use in your home and in your industry, in your office place, and the places where you seek refuge for yourself and your family, like hospitals and medical clinics, like schoolrooms, where the future engineers of our world, the electrical engineers, are learning today how to do things like adding and subtracting, because that's what you learn when you're 6 years old. The choice that we have now to make decisions about how we use our energy, in light of those decisions having incredible impact on the environment of our world, putting that all together puts us not only in a place where we need to make these critical choices to save our future, but where we get to make these critical choices for a better world. It's a fabulous time. It's an incredible time. And this room is really an incredible selection of people who are very, very much a part of this time. I was fortunate enough to walk around and say hello to a lot of people in the room earlier, and it is amazing to me the myriad of folks we have. Private sector, public sector, academics, large companies, small technology companies, those of us who come from government who have this fixation with trying to help people get to that place, companies from all over the world. I recently read a book called Sapiens, and in the book there was a description of some of the first people who moved around the world from one place to another. They got on camels, they got on small wind-powered boats, they moved around by walking over large mountains and through deserts. They rode horses, they sailed far off seas to distant lands. And you know, very, very few of them were missionaries preaching religion or government people opening up deep diplomatic dialogue. Very few of them were people seeking just a chance of adventure to see a new place. You know who they were? They were traders. They were commercial agents. They were people who believed they had something of value they'd produced in their own community, and they thought it might be valuable in a community far away. And they thought that community far away might also have something of value to improve their lives. So they made those horrendously dangerous journeys across desert, mountains, and oceans to bring their goods. Those people were like the people in this room today who have traveled from close and from far. They are the innovators. They are the thought leaders. They are the risk takers. They are you who are facing the challenges of tomorrow and decided to make the world and their communities a better place. Those are the people who traveled since time immemorial across horrendous landscapes to achieve outcomes that we today can thank them for and can imagine what our future looks like by being a part of that trend. USAID, where I happen to work, is really an excited partner to the World Utility Summit. We're very happy to be a part of this as an international knowledge partner. We also recognize the importance of the innovation and creativity and the risk takers like yourselves. And we're happy to count ourselves amongst this group of people. The strong partners at the Ministry of Power have jointly rolled out several initiatives that we've been fortunate to be a part of. The focuses of our programs have largely been on distribution reforms, institutional capacity building, and demonstration projects that can help improve operational and financial viabilities of these utilities that we're here to talk about. But our most recent engagement with the Ministry of Power has been through our bilateral program that we like to call affectionately SPARK. SPARK is the Smart Power for Advancing Reliability and Connectivity. And the SPARK program focuses on supporting MOP's initiatives to improve the operational performance of distribution utilities in an innovative manner that encourages thought leadership, that looks at the potential for trade, not just trade in goods, but in services, the ideas that bring people together like this gathering that help us think through some of the challenges. Because let me tell you, while a lot of this is initiated by engineers, not all of this is science. A good part of this is art. A good part of this is the creative mind that it takes to think through the challenges and the problems of our day and come up with solutions that are viable. Viable to protect our environment, viable to provide a future for our children, viable to make our businesses continue to be profitable, to gain income so that our countries can provide for all of our people, those who are at the forefront and those who are marginalized. Because a big part of the reason I do this is so that we can make sure that this trickles down to those who have not been as fortunate, to those who are living on the margins and those who still need a hand up to make sure their lives are prosperous. Under the SPARK program, we've recently assisted the ministry in organizing a consultative workshop on national rollout of smart prepaid metering. The Joint Secretary, Narayan, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you on your leadership and vision in developing an enabling roadmap that can help achieve Government of India's target of 250 million prepaid smart meters by 2022. This is undoubtedly one of the largest smart but around the world. It's quite a formidable and very ambitious, and we're excited to be a part of working with the ministry to help them achieve that because, as Secretary Kumar said earlier, they set some ambitious targets here in India for renewables. And guess what? They're on course to achieve those renewables, and now they've upped the ante on those renewables. We believe smart meters is a similar sort of target that not only can be achieved in this short period of time, but can be surpassed and can show India's continued leadership around the world as an incredible, innovative country thinking about not just the welfare of India, and not just the welfare of South Asia, but as the welfare of the planet. As I mentioned earlier, electricity market transformation will require the joint efforts of several actors, not the least of which are platforms such as today's summit, and that will play a key role in bringing together the stakeholders, exchange ideas, and share knowledge. The United States is committed to continue its support to not only India, but South Asia and all of Asia. Those of you might know that recently the President of the United States unveiled the Indo-Pacific Strategy, a commitment to Asian nations throughout the continent to provide support, to provide partnership, and to provide co-opportunities working together to make sure that the goals of India in providing for a more prosperous nation, a more prosperous region, a more prosperous world can be met effectively and efficiently within the margins of good rule of law and good practices for technological development and distribution. Underneath the Indo-Pacific Strategy here in Asia, we have unveiled the Asia Edge initiative. Asia, economic development and growth through enhanced energy. And that initiative is the forefront of our work with the government of India and the government of South Asian nations. I see a wide representation of utilities and power professionals in the room, as I mentioned. And I encourage all of you to take this opportunity during these next couple days to make sure that what we get out of this is not only worthwhile, but is cutting edge and is groundbreaking. It moves us all forward in this discussion and the discussions that come afterwards. As I said, this is not necessarily just a science. It is an art. And good artists, like good scientists, like good humanitarians, come together regularly to share their art, to share their own self-identity and the expression of who they are as human beings with their fellow humans, not just to boast or to lay good to what they've been able to develop, but to make sure that they're sharing it with others so that others can reap the benefits as well. Because we're in this together. There are 7.5 billion of us on this planet together, but I want to say that none of it will happen without the largest majority of us working together to get this done. And here's my last thought. This is a brilliant room of critical thinkers and thought leaders and great innovators, and I'm glad to see that. Earlier I heard a friend and colleague talk about the importance of the gifts that we were giving away today, and making sure that there was gifts in there to take home to your loved ones. India needs to make sure that those loved ones, the women that make up half of the population of this country and the world, are not at home waiting for their gifts, are in this room with us. That they are a part of the thought leaders and the innovators and the creative thinkers that move this paradigm forward. Next year, I would like to challenge us, I would like to challenge the organizations that are putting this together to think about the World Utility Summit as being the Women's World Utility Summit, so that there are women in this room with us, not just a sprinkling of them, but 30% of the people in this room at a minimum should be females. Because females are leading our communities, they're leading our households, they're raising our children, they're making decisions about how we allocate and use our resources effectively. They're having an impact not just on us, but on the quality of life of future generations. They need to be a part of this discussion. Thank you very much.